I want everyone to have more money. You get to have more money. And ultimately, if we are not able to train ourselves, to rewire ourselves, to heal to a degree that we can feel safe and secure without anything needing to change in our external environment, adding more money to that situation will never solve the problem, ever. There's no amount of money that is going to ever make you feel safe if you don't know how to feel safe now, once your basic needs are met.
Hello, and welcome back to the Joyous Path to Millions podcast. I'm super excited for today. This is an interview that I've been looking forward to. I've got Kate Northrup on the show, and Kate, you don't even know this, I don't think, but I was introduced to you through someone that was in Amber Liljestrom's mastermind.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And she used to do like these live retreats and she'd have special guests and we'd always be guessing, I wonder who the guest is going to be. And we'd always be like, we hope it's going to be Kate Northrup. Because you were living up in the Northeast and you and Amber.
Amber and I lived an hour away from each other.
Yeah. And so you guys had like your own
It
kind
was
of peer
never
mastermind.
me.
It was never you. I know.
It was never me. I don't know why. It was never me.
Yeah. And of course, whoever, it was totally fine. But we were like,
of course.
Aw.
I'm sure they were amazing.
Yeah. So one of my dear friends was like, you have to read this book, Do Less, because I was still very much in my masculine energy at that point. And so I got your book and then I got the planner and learned all about cyclicality and joined your Origin membership. And then it's interesting because that was like 2019, 2020. And it feels like your business has evolved a ton.
Massively.
Since then.
Yeah. It's like my business is completely different.
Yeah. And I think you wrote the money book before
I did.
Do Less,
Yeah.
right?
So I wrote Money, A Love Story came out in 2013. 11 years ago. And then I shifted my body of work, really evolved into more cyclical living, body-based productivity, energy management, energy cultivation, and Do Less came out in 2019. I created the Do Less planner that same year. And then a bunch of things happened in my own life, which of course I'm happy to get into, that shifted my attention back to money, despite thinking that after I wrote Money, A Love Story, I had said everything I had to say on the topic. And then 9 years. Yeah. So 2022, I dipped my toe back into the money conversation, and it was in such profound flow. And it was so obvious that my community was ready to do that work with me. It was a very easy, it wasn't even really a pivot. It was just like a return to where I started, but with over a decade of new experience and practice and life under my belt. And so we completely shifted our business again. And now in 2024, it's almost all about money. But at the end of the day, like, it's actually the same conversation. The work that I do is around supporting us all to remember our infinite value and infinite worthiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm so curious, what does it look like behind the scenes when you're considering some of these pivots? Because I know I never listened to your podcast with your husband, but I remember seeing this like big announcement, like, we're not going to do this podcast anymore. And I think people were like afraid that you guys were
everyone assumed we were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which totally was not happening. But no, I will say, like, when I'm done with something, I'm done.
Yeah.
And it is not it's like very infrequent that I'm done with something because it's not working. Usually I'm just done.
Yeah.
And it's not because, like, when I closed the Origin membership in spring of 2022, I honestly, what even is time? I think it was, I don't know. It doesn't matter. When I closed the Origin membership, like, that membership was a high 6-figure membership every year. We had an incredible retention rate. Like, people were happy. I just was done. And same thing with our podcast with my husband. I was just done. And with the new body of work newish since the end of 2022 that I've been exploring around women, money, and the nervous system, it just was so clear that it wanted to be born. And then it did really well. So it was just like, why would I not double down over here where it's so obvious that there's so much interest? The thing is about psychology, that I've been learning in buyer psychology, it is easier to sell a program about money than it is to sell a program about time. People actually don't believe that it's possible for them to have spaciousness and freedom in their lives around time, but they do believe that they could make more money. And they think they have to make more money in order for them to have more time. I actually know that's not true in many cases, and there are very specific methodologies that I have to help people to unlock more time while making more so that you can have the unlock of those two things at the same time. And both of our scarcity around time and our scarcity around money is rooted in the same thing in our psyche. But from a sales psychology perspective, like it's just harder to sell time than it is to sell money, which is fascinating. So that's why the pivot, it was like both internal and then external results were just so obvious of, God, this is easy.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, for me, like money has always been such a good carrot. I always say that, like to doing the inner work, right?
Yes.
Like it had to be that I felt like there was more money on the other side of it. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll do the inner child work. Okay, I'll cry 85 buckets of tears. I'll do all of this stuff. And then it's once I got to the other side and yes, there was money. It was like the other stuff actually was more profound, but money had to be a part of it. And I'm so grateful to money for that. Hey, thank you so much for being the impetus for all of this.
If money is going to seduce us to heal, why not?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I totally agree with you. And I love the way you just described that. My husband is also my business partner. It's so funny. When I met him, he was doing all this meditation and all this personal development work. And people assumed, given his background, like he used to work at Philip Morris. Like he was like a heavy partier. He was like very different. People assumed that he got into spirituality and personal development and wellness because of me, but that is not true. And I was asking him about it. And he was like, this guy he was following who like made a lot of money told him about this meditation teacher. And he said, this doing meditation helped me make more money. So Mike was like, okay, great.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. So yeah, it was perfect. It did make him more money and it got him a wife. So I guess it worked.
Yeah, I love it. That's actually something that like my husband and I connected on early on in our relationship too. He was in a band and he was like living in this house with all of his bandmates. It was like a twin mattress on the corner of his room, I think. And he was like definitely partying too hard and all this kind of stuff. But also he was like, I also turn off all the lights in my room and I light candles and I just sit in the quiet and I like have these really profound experiences. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's it. So that's really cute. And it's interesting. I was listening to another podcast that you were on, just like getting into the vibe for this.
Yeah.
And you were talking about embodiment and how there's a lot of meditative practices. And I actually participated in one for many years that really advocate leaving the body, like turning off the senses and really having like more of this soul experience. And one of my huge aha moments in this lifetime was being like, hang on, if I believe what some of these spiritual teachers are saying about reincarnation and the soul coming in, and I actually worked pretty hard to get here, like I really chose this and I really wanted this human experience, then why am I here and I'm in this body and then I'm trying to have a soul experience? I don't need to be in the body to have a soul experience. And you talk about that because obviously embodiment is a big part of the work that you do.
Yeah. So listen, I think all spiritual practices are valid and all of us are on a different curriculum in this lifetime. But my curriculum is about the body. So if anybody else is listening and has a similar curriculum, hopefully this is helpful. For me, it drives me insane when I'm listening to people and they refer to our bodies as a meat suit because it is like, to me, that is so profoundly devaluing of something that I find to be one of the most miraculous, beautiful, mysterious, magical technologies. Like when you really start to deeply understand our biology and how our bodies work, that we are made out of light. Like actually, we are more light than we are particle. I don't know how you could call the body a meat suit if you actually understood how magical these bodies are. And like you said, that we chose to be here in a body and there's nothing that we can experience here in our incarnation that can be experienced without experiencing it in the body. We're going to die for sure. We're not going to be in these bodies. So why would we spend our lives trying to get out of our body Like, surely they are useful. And if you do any kind of study of Tantra, pleasure practices, if you look at a freaking sunset, if you snuggle with your child, if you have an orgasm, those experiences, or if you swim naked in the ocean, right? Like, how could you not think that is the most divine experience? How could you want to transcend that? It blows my mind. So those practices are not for me. However, I am sure there's some really good data about the benefits of some of them. Far be it for me to tell anybody what to do. But for me, it's all about how can I be in the body, not how can I leave my body. Because the truth is, so many people who have trauma patterning, the trauma response is to leave the body.
It's dissociate.
And so I wonder to what degree are some of the spiritual practices actually a trauma response?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I had a lot of profound spiritual experiences that way too. But what I noticed was then coming back into the body, like when I would be done with the meditation, it felt a little disorienting and it felt a little bit. And as I reconnected with my body and understood like how to use her as a tool and really like awaken my intuition and all of that, it's just felt so much more integrated. And so now it's like I can go into meditative experiences and sometimes I'll root in those experiences and sometimes I will go out.
Yeah.
But when I come back in, there's like such a sweetness and it's like a returning home in a way that feels really beautiful and makes me so happy to be here. Oh my gosh, I get this body, I get this life, I get this family. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. It's totally like, why leave?
Yeah. But here's the thing is these bodies don't come with an owner's manual. And I think that's the travesty. And you talk about this a little bit in Do Less also, right? As women, we really don't even understand our menstrual cycle often, ever, or at least until we're in our 30s or 40s, which is crazy. And we understand the basics that you bleed a certain week out of the month. And that's it. But we don't understand the magic in it and the energetics and all of that. And that's just one aspect of the body. We certainly don't understand our nervous system. We don't understand the part of our body that is really hardwired for our survival out of its love and protection for us. But that survival system can be triggered at times that are not helpful and create a physiological response that perhaps doesn't feel helpful or loving in that situation. And if you could tell everyone something about their bodies that would help them to have a more pleasurable and embodied human experience, what would that be?
That your body is here for you. Your body is loving you at all times. Your body is here to create pleasure and presence and an incredible sensational life. And so often, because of our allopathic medicine community, the pharmaceutical industry, like just the way we treat the body in our culture as though it's an adversary, even when people talk about fighting cancer. And again, I'm not a cancer survivor. It's not been my past so far. That being said, and so deep compassion to anybody who's walking that path. And I wonder about saying that we're fighting anything.
Yeah.
And so just the whole paradigm of that our body is something to be fought or controlled or diminished or whatever. I don't find it accurate in my experience. And I think that we can work with our biology and with our physiology to support our dreams, our goals, our lives, and literally like the very animating force is life force. Like the fact that our hearts are beating and that we are breathing is an indication that that's what makes us even here. And so any amount of trying to work against that, I think, is misguided. And if we begin to learn about our bodies, begin to work with them, everything gets better. Yes, our health, which is wonderful, right? We get more energy. Things begin to heal. Even just when women start to pay attention to their menstrual cycle and just track it, It's unbelievable the number of times that I hear from women that they're like, I just started tracking my cycle and my symptoms went away. Because the body was just trying to get your attention. It's just, hey, hello. And so any amount that we can pay loving attention to our bodies is going to lead to healing and more access to life force, to creativity. We are animals. We are animals. Animals are governed by nature. Nature is it is like the embodiment of divine, infinite, universal God energy. And so our bodies are our direct access to that divine wisdom if we just start to listen and just put a little bit of attention on them.
Yeah. Do you believe that there's been a concerted effort to disconnect women from the divinity in their bodies?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For thousands and thousands of years. It is I'm sitting recording in my girlfriend's studio. She is a full-on witch and a modern witch. She does candle magic in here. She does tarot. It was like so beyond beautiful. I walked into this space and my entire body started to tingle because there is power in the magic. And women's bodies are the portal between heaven and earth. My friend Sarah Jenks says we are the divine slip and slide between heaven and earth. It is freaking wild. Like, even as someone who has given birth to 2 humans, I still look at them and I'm like, what? How is it possible that you didn't exist and then you grew inside me and then you came out and now you're making scrambled eggs? Like, what is happening? And making me laugh and asking me questions and teaching me wow. Of course, we have been taught to fear that which is powerful. And then what has been done with that fear is suppression and direct oppression. And the easiest way to do that is to teach women to distrust, fear, and find their own bodies disgusting.
Yeah.
Because it is so much easier to control people by teaching them to essentially fear and reject themselves, because then you don't have to control them from the outside anymore. But yeah, when we tap into our physical power, we are tapping into the divine, and no one can take that from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are at such an incredible...
You can't control us very easily when our decision-making power and our internal compass is ourselves and our intuition.
Yeah. People will continue to try, but they won't. Like, no one can control you without your consent.
Yeah.
Even if you read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, we always have access to some degree of choice, and that is our power.
I love this conversation. So I want to dive into some of the work that you do around money, and also just like some of the nuts and bolts of your business as it looks today as well. So like, how do people find you? What are some of the containers or ways that they work with you? And then what are some of your favorite like practices that you teach?
Yeah, we are getting better about specific metrics. That's like a huge thing in 2025 is dialing in. So at the end of my spring 2025 enrollment for Relax Money, I'll be able to tell you, like, this percentage of people found me from my podcast, Plenty. This percentage of people found me through other people's podcasts like yours. Yeah. This number came in directly from Instagram. So I do know that right now, 60% of our sales for our signature program, Relax Money, which is a program that is a neuroscience-based approach to healing your relationship with money. So that program is 80% of our revenue, and 60% of people who join that program come in through affiliates.
Oh.
Yeah. We have not cracked the paid advertising code. I will just tell you that. It is not because of Facebook ads. They're not finding us through Meta. Maybe that we'll figure that one out, but we haven't yet. But what we've done really well is cultivating community with our affiliate. People who've taken the program, people who I have been in relationship with sometimes for over 15 years, just building that deep connection of trust and reciprocity. has been really amazing. And I love our affiliates and we pay them a really high percentage. So it just makes it like a win for everyone. And then, of course, people come in through my podcast plenty. My books are a huge lead driver.
Yeah.
I could probably shut down Instagram and still have a really solid business. I'm just like super not into building my business on rented property. So I'm really all about email list growth. It's like ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're like, what do you actually do? I'm like, actually, I'm an email marketer.
Yeah.
Like if you were to really say, what is your business model?
Yeah.
Like my business model is cultivating relationship over email, loving on people through writing, and inviting them to join our program. So again, we have Relax Money, which is our signature program. We have another self-study program that's called Heal the Way You Work, which is really more based on the work from my book, Do Less. And those are really our offerings.
I love the simplicity.
So simple.
Yeah.
It's freaking simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to what we were talking about before, like you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. And I think for many of us, that means that there's a natural falling away that happens so that new things can come through. For you, when you feel done with something, is there like a telltale sign? Do you notice a little bit of avoidance? Does it feel like heaviness? Or do you just notice yourself feeling really excited about something outside of your current offers?
That's a good question. I start to feel a little annoyed. And bleh. And then I'm excited about something new.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a 7 Enneagram.
Yeah.
I'm like, my husband always says it is a freaking miracle that you've kept me around this long. Like I just live for variety. And I'm also a manifesting generator, 3/5. I'm just supposed to change it up a lot.
Yeah.
That's tricky in business. When you're like trying to create a brand and be known for something. And so what my more recent practice is to learn to meet my own creative needs through marketing strategies as opposed to through burning down our business and changing everything all the time. And that's an ongoing journey, but like really increasing my capacity to enjoy stability is a lifelong practice for me.
Yeah. Some of my
I
best
love
friends
to pull the rug out on things.
Yeah.
I'm like, fire drill!
I'm a Manny Gen too, so I understand the urge to just be interested in a lot of different things. But I also have a pretty high orientation towards safety and stability. And a lot of my best friends are Enneagram 7s. I love 7s. I love the energy. They're always a yes to things, which is so fun. And so they'll say yes to things last minute with me. But if they throw things last minute at me, I'm like, probably not. Yeah. I get my spontaneity of the surrogate through them.
You know, the people you see that have done something really successful or out of the box and are living a life that you find really interesting and inspiring. Do you ever wonder how they think or what's going on behind the scenes, how they make their decisions? I know I do. I've invested lots of money at this point to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars to get access to people like this. Not because I want to copy paste what they're doing, but because I want to get to know how they think, what moves they're making behind the scenes. And of course, because we're energetic beings, first and foremost, their energy alters my energy for the positive. This is exactly what I do for you inside Soul Mission, my private podcast full of transmissions that cause you to feel inspired, expanded, and ready to take massive action that aligns with your dreams and goals. The only difference is that you don't have to invest hundreds of thousands to get it. In fact, you can binge for free for 3 days. Check the show notes to sign up or DM me the word mission on Instagram to get the link and start letting my energy rub off on you.
But has the trust in the pivot grown over time? Do you have this sense now that my audience isn't going anywhere and they're like willing to evolve with me? Or does it still feel scary every time?
It doesn't really feel scary and it never has. So I'll tell you why. And this is a good money lesson. Okay. I have always believed in and focused on building residual income streams. So residual income or quote unquote passive income, there's really no such thing, but like passive-ish, right? So that there are assets that bring in revenue. So I don't trade hours for dollars.
Right.
And also over time, I've gotten so much healthier in my relationship with money. I used to really live super close to the bone because I unconsciously, I got off on the excitement of not knowing if the numbers were going to work out. And the avoidance made me feel alive. Yeah, it was so. That's like a whole other thing that we could get
That's
into.
Your existential kink with money.
That is my existential kink with money.
We can leave that.
It still comes up. Yeah. But I now have a robust cushion. And also when I started out, I started my blog in 2010, literally on a whim, because I felt like being creative. So I never started this business to make money.
Yeah.
I had another revenue. I was in network marketing. I still make a check from that business that I built every single week. And so for my network marketing ladies out there, just a shout out. So I had that. I didn't need whatever this was to quote unquote work.
Yeah.
And I know people love burn the ships, whatever. People love that. That's fine. But I find for most folks, having a cushion is really helpful, whether that's starting a business while you have a full-time job or building up a certain amount of savings so that I don't like any kind of pressure or desperation energy when it comes to money. So that being said, when I started my blog in 2010, I literally wrote an email to my whole contact list, everyone I knew at the time. And I was like, hey, I'm starting this blog. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be about, but it's personal growth, wellness, spirituality, and a little bit of money consciousness stuff.
Yeah.
And 400 people signed up for my list. And then I was like, great, I'm just going to write about whatever I want every week. And so and then I realized then I started getting paid through affiliate things. And then I launched the Money Love course in 2012, and then my book came out. So it evolved so naturally based on my own interest and curiosity. And then every time I have done a big pivot, our business has grown exponentially. So every time I let something completely die, like our membership or just a variety, my mastermind, or every time I'm done with this, our revenue increases quite dramatically. So I guess it's been long enough that I just trust it.
Yeah.
Also, there's plenty of cushion. I'm never this has got to work. And granted, our company is our family's revenue. There's not other income sources. So I guess on some level it does have to work. But ultimately, we're all incredibly resourceful beings. And if one thing doesn't work, there are literally infinite other options, even if we can't see them in the moment because we're scared.
Yeah, I love that. And that you get to be the evidence for that too, for other people, that they can borrow it from you.
Yeah, totally. I do not think that we should keep pouring our life force into things that are boring or that we don't want to do or are draining. It's not a good use of this limited lifespan that we have. Yeah. So permission to just change directions. And because what's magnetic is your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And if people feel my enthusiasm, they're coming.
Yeah.
They just are. Now we can get into a whole conversation about a personal brand and selling our life force as our business. And I have a lot of mixed feelings about that.
Say more words.
But I do really know how to do it.
No, say more words though, because I do think that this is important, and where it gets tangled up for people sometimes I think is around pricing and worthiness, where it's they actually feel like product and they're putting a price on themselves. So I'd love to just hear your take on this.
Yeah. So something we do a lot is we overcouple our worth with our sales, our conversions, how a launch went, our revenue, how much is in our bank account. And our inherent worth as a human is infinite. Yeah. And you could never do anything to become more or less worthy. It just is. Now, the economic value of an offer in the marketplace is something totally different. And that has to do with how well you've described it, your packaging and positioning. Does it meet a need that someone is aware that they have, that they also are motivated to solve? Is the timing correct? Have you described it well enough to make them know that this is the solution that they're that's marketing.
Right.
So all of that is marketing. Your worth is not your marketing. And so if anything doesn't work, which I have had a million things flop, like I've had stuff that I put out there that nobody signed up for. I've had stuff to put out there that like my goal was 105 people signed up. It happens all the time. This is how it is. And I've had to really do that work of, how a launch goes has nothing to do with like how much people like me, how valuable I am, or even how valuable my work is, because we have so many examples of people who didn't really get recognized for their contribution until they died.
Right.
And does the value of our contribution depend on being recognized for it? No. So there's like a lot there, but ultimately the work is to tap into and work those neural patterns like so devotedly so that our wiring is such that we can access our inherent worth at will.
Yes.
With the snap of a finger, and that when a launch doesn't do what we would like it to do, or when our bank account is not what we would like it to be, that we know how to plug back into safety and source. And that's the nervous system work that I do in my program, because ultimately people think that the solution is more money.
Right.
And sure, more money gives you more choices. I want everyone to have more money. You get to have more money. And ultimately, if we are not able to train ourselves, to rewire ourselves, to heal to a degree that we can feel safe and secure without anything needing to change in our external environment, adding more money to that situation will never solve the problem, ever. There's no amount of money that is going to ever make you feel safe if you don't know how to feel safe now, once your basic needs are met.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, like our food insecure, housing insecure, more money is for sure going to help. So,
Yeah.
right. And then once we are past that, once we are living at a level of stability, the solution is not more money. But oddly, it's like the divine joke. When we learn, like you said at the beginning, when we learn how to access safety, security, freedom, love inside ourselves, more money does tend to show up, or more abundance in many forms. And then it's this cool accessory that it's, wow, my joy doesn't depend on this, but it's here. And I'm actually much better at enjoying it because I'm sourcing from wholeness as opposed to from scarcity.
Yes. Yeah. In my book, I talk about Warren Buffett as an example of this, because I just want to poke holes in that myth that the money fixes everything. And it's this guy, his net worth is more than most countries. And he's still driving an old car. He's living in the house that he's lived in for a gazillion years. He goes to McDonald's in the morning. He orders his breakfast based on what the stock market is doing. And so he'll choose to save the 17 cents and not get what he really wants because of what the stock market did. And that's not really like the lifestyle that most of us imagine having when our net worth is in the billions.
Yeah. And I'm sure like that's his own, I don't know Warren Buffett, right? I'm not going to know him, but that's his own kink. Like, yeah. I'm sure on some level, like he's doing that because it is satisfying something in him.
Yeah. There's like a kink for self-restraint and all of that kind of
stuff. Totally. Yeah. And we all get to choose, right? Like we get to choose. But yeah, like ultimately the things that make life worth living are free.
Yeah.
They just are.
It's true. It's true. So your business is making how much, ballpark?
So we're going to be we're well over 2 million this year.
Congrats.
Yeah, coming in. This is our biggest year yet.
Wow, That's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you know offhand like how many years you've been above the 7-figure mark?
I do. My first 7-figure year was 2017.
Okay. We're 7 years in. Best year yet. Do you set any sort of financial goals for yourself at this point? Oh my God,
this is such...
Did we just hear a snort?
Yeah, I just snorted about goals. Goals are tricky for me.
Yeah.
I will be perfectly honest. So here's my current practice. I have things, first of all, I'm a non-specific manifester.
Yeah.
In human design. So like when people say, tell me your specific vision, it really gives me agita. Like I don't like it. Because then I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Whatever. So when I learned
nice to have a reason that you don't.
Oh, I was like, why do I hate this and everyone else loves this? Like I fucking hate this. So I'm more of like, I'm like a vibe person. I'm like, I just want it to feel yummy and spacious and like, now, does that mean I don't visualize things? I do. I practice sex magic. I do all sorts of different manifesting practices, but mostly I like just practice feeling as good as possible, as often as possible, which includes letting myself feel all the things.
Yeah.
So not just only happiness, right? Not just only joy,
not
but
just
it's like
high vibes all the time.
No, like yesterday, my girlfriend sent me the most brutal voice memo about something that had happened in her life that is like a profound, deep heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I listened to her voice memo and I turned it off. I was driving and I was sobbing like guttural tears for her.
Yeah.
And also probably for me on some level. I'm not sure. I'm sure some past
And
life
the
thing or,
collective
like,
and everything else.
childhood.
Yeah.
Who even knows? It doesn't matter. There is a life force. There's an erotic charge in allowing ourselves to feel good as much as possible, meaning feel all the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So back on my goals. I really love to just focus on the feeling I want, and then things that are better than I might have even put down do tend to show up.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, in Relaxed Money, I really encourage people to write down a specific goal for the reason that for so many people who I work with, financial avoidance has been a thing,
Right.
no matter their income level, because I know financial avoiders who have bigger businesses than I do.
Yeah.
So it's not about, they're avoiding because there's not enough. There's a lot of financial avoiders who are just like avoiding, right? Or have a mess with money, even though they have great income. Those people are my sweet spot. So if you're listening, come. But I love to suggest, have an income goal, and then just witness what comes up. It's not because the goal is going to make or break it. It is because we then have an opportunity to bear witness to what comes up around writing that down.
Yes.
What comes up for you? What do you notice? So let's say your goal is $1 million a year, right? Okay, so write it down. Now, what happens as you imagine that goal coming closer to your actual physical space? What kind of fears come up? Who would you need to be? What would that? So it just helps us to get in there under the hood and notice like what might actually be blocking the flow. Where are we adding in friction because of our old neural patterns that are fear, just little fear habits that our nervous system has? And you can work through all those things and remove them over time. But I will say I have a tricky relationship with goals for myself because I'm like, am I shooting too high? Am I shooting too low? Am I limiting the universe? Whatever. So here's what I do now. And this is very helpful for me. I like to pull out the timeline. So I'm like, my current goal is like a $10 million a year. Yeah. Do I think that I can have that? For sure. Absolutely. Do I think it can happen in a year? It's possible. It's unlikely. But I actually do know people who've gone from $2 to $10 million in a year. So do I think that's possible? Yes. Does it feel good in my body to put the time pressure of that needs to happen in 1 year? It does not.
Right.
So ultimately it comes back to what feels abundant. And my friend Darnielle Jervy Harmon, who wrote a wonderful book called Move to Millions, says, what would abundance do? So that's the question that I like to hold goals in. It's what would abundance want me to have? What would abundance have me write down? And then what would abundance do? And in my case, abundance would have me remove the timeline because then suddenly I'm absolutely certain it's happening.
Yeah. I love that.
So that flies directly in the face of people who say you have to have SMART goals.
Yeah. No tea. We'll just do SMART goals and be like piratey about it.
And also if timelines are motivating for you, wonderful. The thing is, like, my own personal healing has been around unraveling the part of me that gets off on time pressure. And so adding time pressure to my life is actually really a maladaptive strategy for me.
Yeah, I get that. And like it's true for so many of my clients as well, right? Because we often attract people like us and it's a high achiever wanting to do all the things. Like no one will put more pressure on me than me. So it's actually always the strategy is choose softer, choose slower, choose the path with the better views and the good lunch spot.
Totally. Because at the end of the day, okay, great. So I have my $10 million year. Then what?
Yeah.
Like my life is still my life. So if I had missed all the vistas, if I had not stopped to make out with my husband in the kitchen, if I had not what's the point? Right. No amount of money is going to help you enjoy your life if you can't enjoy your life exactly as it is.
Yes. Yep. That's it. Okay. So how can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah. So the best place is I created a 23-minute money lesson that helps you. It's the practice that I've worked with people for over a decade on. Actually, I think I did it for the first time. Oh my God, it's almost been 20 years. This one has been blowing people's minds for nearly 20 years. And so you can get it over at katenorthrup.com/guide. It's free. It comes with this money breakthrough guide, and I would go through that lesson. So yeah, katenorthrup.com/guide. You can follow me on Instagram at Kate Northrup. My podcast is called Plenty. One of our most fan favorite episodes is called How to Turn On Your Body's Ability to Attract Abundance. So that might be a fun next stop.
Amazing. And last question, since our podcast is called The Joyous Path to Millions, what does it feel like for you to be on your joyous path to millions?
It feels like a mystery. Like it feels like a magical mystery tour. I'm like, what's going to be around the next corner? I think that's the most fun, is really relating to our lives and our businesses like a mystery school where everything can be used to deepen our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with the divine.
Love it. Amazing. Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show. To everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. One of my favorite things about this podcast is getting to have conversations like I had with Kate today, like people that I admire and have learned from, and to get to ask them all of my questions and go behind the scenes and just connect human to human. What a gift. So thank you all for being a part of this podcast that allows me to do that. And I'm glad that I got to take you with me. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. Make sure you tag me at mmakesmoney, tag Kate at Kate Northrup on Instagram. Let us know that you listened to this episode. My top takeaways are: number one, your body is your greatest ally. And I loved how Kate said, your body is here for the sensational experiences, right? We can only experience the sensation through the senses, and the senses are part of the body. And so really looking to this vessel and this bodily temple as an ally, as a friend, as just a beautiful conduit to these experiences. Takeaway number two, nervous system regulation, really learning it, understanding it, and applying it to all facets of life. It's such a skill, and it's something that I've learned even more about as I became a facilitator for RRT, and it's helped me to deepen my own work, my own practices, and then cause my clients to also have more regulated experiences and getting unconscious mind, the part of mind that often triggers the fight or flight, to get on board with where we want to go. Number three, trusting the pivot. It was really fun to just hear Kate talk about the different ways that they've pivoted their business and changed different offerings and let go of things that were bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And that every time she did that, the business has grown. And no surprise, they're having their best year ever this year, which is incredible. Number four, try removing the timeline. So if setting goals feels funky to you, set the goal, but remove the timeline and see if that feels better. I know for me, that's something that has been a tremendous gift, is just allowing myself to play in the possibility and in the desire and know that I want to move in that direction, but not decide that it has to happen within this certain arbitrary timeline that then all of a sudden puts pressure on me in a way that doesn't feel good. And number five, exploring life as a mystery school. I love that was Kate's answer to how the Joyous Path to Millions feels for her. And if you've never thought about life in that sense, that would be a fun perspective to try on. Often when I wake up in the morning, my first mental mantra is, universe, surprise and delight me. I can't wait to see what magic you have in store for me today.
And that's really the vibration of exploring life as a mystery school, is knowing that there are cool things that are going to unfold and that I just get to witness and experience them. And I don't have to try and orchestrate or control them. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. As always, share, subscribe, leave a review, all the things. It makes a tremendous difference. And I'm so glad that we get to walk the joyous path to millions together. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. Changing the way that we think, feel, and talk about money is up-leveling the planet. I truly believe that. The ripple effect starts with you tuning in, and it spreads when you share this show on Instagram and Facebook. You can tag me at mmakesmoney. And you know what moves the needle the most? Taking just a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This show isn't free to produce, so let's multiply those dollars invested and help this show reach a bigger audience each week. So thank you in advance for your help. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm sending you all the magic money vibes on your joyous path to millions.